Yo, welcome to lesson 5. Today we're going to focus more on switching chords again, and by the end of the lesson you'll be able to do this. Not drop your guitar on the floor, let me go get my guitar. You'll be able to do this. You also know how to do this. And lastly, this. Let's get started. E minor to A, easy. The first thing you want to take notice of is the fact that both chords are on the 2nd fret, which means you don't have to do that much moving. The second thing is they use similar fingers. Now you can see it as this, it's just E minor. You move your fingers down one string and add your 3rd finger. The only tricky part with this progression would be that A chord, because it's quite weird to fit all your fingers on one fret. So the only thing I can say for that is try not to see your fingers as horizontal, like this, but try and turn them so they're kind of stacked on top of each other. Horizontal is quite hard to fit them all on, but when they're stacked you can kind of get them all in that fret. So again, all you're doing is E minor, moving your fingers down one string and adding your 3rd finger. Now, if that's too hard, what you can do is play E minor and just practice moving your fingers down one string. You don't have to add your 3rd finger just yet. Just get used to that movement. Then when you're comfortable with that, add your 3rd finger afterwards for A. And let's do it with a metronome quickly, so you know how I practice. Alright, so the beat's going 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna play on 1, and the first time around I'm gonna do E minor. Then the second time 1 comes around, I'm gonna play A. It's gonna sound like this: 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. E minor, 2, 3, 4. A, 2, 3, 4. E minor, 2, 3, 4. A, 2, 3, 4. Now if that's too easy for you, you could do something like this where you're playing on 1 and 4, because that makes you switch faster. So that will sound like this: 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. This forces you to switch a bit faster, and yeah, that's how you want to practice chords. Just mix up the timing of them and practice switching faster or slower based on how easy the chord is for you. These next 2 chord progressions are going to be way harder, so don't get discouraged if you don't get them the first time. Just make sure that you practice a lot so that you can get it into your muscle memory, and then from that point onwards it's going to be way easier. So the first chord's going to be G, and this is going to be the first chord we've done that uses all 4 fingers, and that goes like this. The diagram's going to show right here. 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the lower E string, 1st finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the B string, and pinky on the 3rd fret of the high E string. And it should sound like this. Just remember, have your thumb lower down to make that stretch if you have to. If your thumb's up, it's going to be a bit harder, but have your thumb lower down, straight, pointing towards the ceiling, as I've said before, and use the tips of your fingers as much as possible. Now, the second chord is C. 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 And that's going to be third finger on the third fret of the A string, second finger on the second fret of the D string, and first finger on the first fret of the B string. There's an X on the low E string, so don't play that string. Now these are two big chords. One uses all your fingers, and the second one covers 3 frets now, not 1 fret or 2 frets. So the question is, how do we switch between them smoothly? If you remember when we did E minor to A, I did say if it's quite difficult to add your third finger into the switch, then you can leave it out for now and just practice switching from E minor and moving that shape down one string like this. Then when you're comfortable with that, you can add your third finger in. You can apply the same thing to larger chords, for example G and C. If you're not finding switching the chords easy, then you can pick 2 notes from the next chord and just swap to those 2 notes instead. And when that's in your muscle memory, add the remaining fingers that you have to add. For example, if I've got G to C, if I was new to guitar, I wouldn't swap to the full C. I'd practice just swapping to my second and third finger for C. So something like this. That sounds quite cool as well. Then when I'm comfortable with that and it's in my muscle memory, that's when I'll add my first finger into it. Again, let's get the metronome so you have an idea of what I would do. For larger chords, I'd advise just play on 1. Don't play on 2 and 3 and like do all the extra stuff. Just play on 1, get used to switching between the chords, and then when you're comfortable with it, start mixing it up a bit. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, and G, 2, 3, 4, C. Without my first finger, 3, 4, and G, 2, 3, 4, and C, 2. Then when I'm comfortable with that, I'll add my first finger, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. When I'm learning harder chords like these, I apply the same thing where I'll pick 2 notes from the chord and just practice between broken chords essentially, and then when I'm comfortable with like different parts of the chord, that's when I'll add all my fingers in and get the full thing in the end. After G to C, the next chord's going to be D, and it's not similar to C at all, so we're going to want to do that thing again where we pick 2 dots from the next chord. It could even be 1 dot if you want, but we'll pick 2 for D and swap to those instead of the full chord and break it down a bit. So from C to D, we'll do that and then pick these 2 dots here, first finger and second finger. And just get used to that movement. Once you're used to that, add your third finger in. And then once you're used to all of that, play the whole thing together. G, C, then D, then G again, then C, then D. Yeah. So that would sound like this. We'll do it with a metronome. 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, and G, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, G, 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. Now, when you're switching chords, if it's too hard to swap like snappy, what you can do is let go of the chord after you play it quickly, and then get your fingers ready for the next chord. So this will look like this: 3, 4, and G. After I play it, I get the next chord ready: C, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4, G. That will help you switch in time, and as it gets into your muscle memory, you'll be able to do it more snappy. 2, 3, 4, C, 2, 3, 4. Before I give you this last chord progression, I just want to say well done for making it this far. Most people don't, and I'm not exaggerating. Guitar is one of the hardest instruments to learn, but it's very rewarding. You know, your fingers probably hurt. You're probably thinking, why am I still learning this stupid instrument? It doesn't sound nice, it doesn't sound clean, it doesn't sound as good as yours. Well, as I've said a million times, consistency and practice. Get it into your muscle memory, and once you do, it will sound beautiful. Now, this last chord progression is E minor, C, A minor, then D. We're going to put everything we've learned up to this point into this chord progression. Now, when we're going from C to D, because they're a little harder, remember the thing where we pick 2 dots from them chords and we just played them instead of the full chord. So instead of going to the full C, just do your second and third finger. And instead of going to the full D, just do your first and second finger. And that would sound like this. Of course, practice this all with a metronome like this. 2, 3, 4. E minor, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. A minor, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, 3, 4. And E minor, 2, 3, 4. C, 2, 3, 4. A minor, 2, 3, 4. D, 2, 3, 4. Practice with a metronome. Make sure you're in time. If that's too easy for you, then stop showing off. If it's too easy for you, then practice on 1 and 3, 2 and 3, 1 and 4, and so on. But make sure you're switching chords every 4 beats. I've had some questions so far, so I'll take some time to give you a few tips. When you're pressing down on chords, because your thumb and your finger look like this behind the guitar, you want to have this pinch with all your fingers. So the stronger your pinch is, the more you'll be able to press down on the fret and get a sound out of the strings. So it doesn't sound like this, but you're pinching harder and harder and working this muscle here to get the strings to press down. The second thing you can do is, again, use the tips of your fingers. Don't have your fingers down like that, but up like this. So it looks like this from this angle. And yeah, have your fingers straight like mine. Don't have them on the side like that. Have them straight, and your thumb's always pointing towards the ceiling. Unless you have to like stack your fingers or something, but that's an exception. Those are the 3 rules. Pinch as hard as you can. Maybe not too hard to the point it hurts, but just pinch a bit harder. Have your thumb straight and pointing towards the ceiling, and use the tips of your fingers as much as possible. So it's not looking like that, but like this. All of this will be available on my website for free. I'll add a link in the description, and underneath every video I'm going to add some extra writing tips, tricks and whatnot to help you throughout, this little series that I'm doing. If there's any questions, again, feel free to just message me or email me, whatever. And yeah, if you found this helpful, then subscribe, like, comment, share this video, and have a nice day. Goodbye.